I will
Yeah,
do that.
if you get an email from me inviting
We're
you to
live.
chat, hit join. Welcome. This is the CaddyInfo.com. I'm not even going to try and hit just right on the live because I never get it any week. Welcome. This is the CaddyInfo.com Cadillac chat with our host, little red Cadillac bear left over from our Cadillac bear sales. I'm Bruce from CaddyInfo. We have with us Air Mike from CaddyInfo and XLRnet.com.
Hello.
And Cadillac Jim from the Northeast Coast. He's showing his Cadillac bear. So you see who's out of step here, Mike, right?
Yeah, evidently.
Let me keep that as a go-do. I'll look around and see. I've got a couple of those around here somewhere. I kept a couple of them. What the story on these is several years ago, I was trolling on eBay and I found a lot of these Cadillac bears, stuffed bears, and so I bought, you know, 2 gross of them or something, and then we sold them on CaddyInfo.com for a while, and we give them away for contests and do other things. But they were authentic licensed Cadillac products. But like this one is the Cadillac Racing Bear. But my impression was the supplier made too many of them and Cadillac didn't buy them, so they were just offloading them or something. But we sold these on CaddyInfo for a while, and they did quite well. But the trick was I was selling them for, I don't know, nothing as I recall, and the retail they were twice that, and so it was a good deal. Anyway, but I'll look around and see if I can find another Cadillac bear. I do have some Cadillac hats if you need a Cadillac hat. I keep a plentiful supply of Cadillac hats. But Cadillac is about to pass the 200,000 mark. So I know Jim knows the answer to this because we were chatting about it before the show. But Mike, what year was the peak Cadillac production?
Oh, I don't know. Something in the 70s.
Something in the 70s. That was my guess as well.
Guess, yeah.
That was my guess as well, was the early 70s, 71, 72, before the oil embargo hit, when Cadillac was kind of on a high fame moment, right? And they come out with the front wheel drive Eldorado, and things were going well. But 1985. In 1985, I think of as a down year for Cadillac. that they had come out with the new small engines, and I think of that. You know, it wasn't 78 when the Seville showed up, but in 1985. So let's compare. In 1971, and my data source here is Wikipedia, so you know who knows. But 1970, Cadillac made 239,000. In 1973, they creeped up to 304,000. So from 279 to 304. But in 1985, 384,000. 384,000. I wonder if they got the first digit of that wrong and it's supposed to be 284. They sold 300,000 in 84, 384 in 85, and then 281 in 86. And I wonder if the Wikipedia source got that wrong, that the Cadillac was actually 284 in 85. But 1985. So what are the great 1985 Cadillacs? Can you can you name a model that you would love to have from 1985?
I can't.
I'm about to cheat.
Yeah, I'm going to the interwebs to try and find.
Oh no, I gotta.
Oh,
I'm not the only one. I got in.
That's what it is.
It looked like the back end was smashed down.
Well, the Cimarron was still around in '85. Are you talking 85 or 86?
85.
Okay, the Cimarron was still around, but they had the Fleetwood, the Broom, and the limo was a regular showroom model, and the Seville was out.
Yeah, the Seville had come out in 78, though, and I was thinking its high sales year was probably when it first came out. But that's what it is they had the full line going. They had the Fleetwoods, They had front-wheel drive, they had rear-wheel drive, the Elante was going on, the Eldorados were going on, and they had the Seville out. So they basically had a full line except the trucks and the crossovers. But nobody had trucks and no luxury brand had trucks and crossovers in '85. And so I think that's what it was, is in '85 they kind of were right there where everything was available, if the Wikipedia is not wrong. Now, it's entirely possible that the Wikipedia editor, whoever, wherever, whatever source he was copying, simply wrote in the wrong number. And so I don't have my big book of Cadillac handy to check.
Well, I've got a breakdown for '85. They sold 20,000 Cimarrons, 232,000 Fleetwood DeVilles,
Wow.
76,400 Eldorados, 40,000 Sevilles, and 405 Series 75 boats.
So 200,000 Fleetwood DeVilles.
232,000 exactly. You want 231,706. It says here.
Now, for comparison, Cadillac's total worldwide, including the Chinese sales production so far this year, is 200,000. So in 1985, they were selling that many Fleetwood DeVilles.
Yeah, that was their bread and butter. The Eldorado was, their top of the line luxury model for much more, and it was only 76,004. The Ville was only 40,000.
So the Fleetwood was 110-inch wheelbase, which is 6 inches shorter than the wheelbase in my Seville.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think about those. So this was a small car.
Yeah, let me see.
It wasn't the biggest Cadillac that year because the Seville actually had a longer wheelbase, but it's probably longer. The Fleetwood 75 had a 134-inch wheelbase, so that was the big traditional Cadillac. But the Fleetwood itself was on the 110 wheelbase, so it was a mid-size car.
I'm not getting a lot of pictures in this page of the for '85 and the Cadillac history pages.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be showing them to you.
Well, it looks. Let me.
I got an Eldorado.
I'm going to put on my screen capture for a moment, so I apologize that you're going to get the infinity view for a second. And let me hook my picture. Okay, so here is the 1985 Fleetwood in all its majesty. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's a big car.
Yeah, it was an attractive car. I like the way this kind of was thinner and that was thicker in the front, so it has kind of an aero look to it overall. I really like the wheel. The wheel covers? What do you call these? Hubcaps. No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That cover the top part of the wheel arch.
Oh. I was about to say fender skirts, but you're talking about the skirt, the fender, the flange.
I think skirt is the right answer. But anyway, so I'm sorry that term's escaping me at the moment, but that's, I think you got it. But I actually like those, and I think as cars become more aerodynamic, we should bring those back. But maybe they're not actually in addition, beneficial to aerodynamics. They seem like they would be because they keep airflow from going into the wheel wells. But I haven't seen actual tests to tell, and nobody uses them anymore, so they must not have been of benefit.
Well, they're real drag if you have a flat.
Yeah, well, and they're a pain, and it's another piece of metal you have to pay for, so yeah. I get that part. It's another articulated part. So, Mike, what's going on with repairs at Air Mike's 9-car garage?
Well, today I put in window regulators on front and rear on a 02 Grand Prix of my stepdaughter.
Oh, nice. And did that go well without dropping any screws down into the door?
Well, they fell in there, but I had a magnet to get them right out. I expected them to fall in.
I find having anybody else with you while you're doing mechanic work is a savings of half the time. Because if I have anybody else with me, I do fewer stupid things, than if I'm working by myself.
I get distracted, I think.
Yeah, I think I do too. I work better alone.
Then I put that air compressor for the suspension back on my STS just before I came in.
Oh, good. How'd that go?
Oh, it's back on there, but I haven't turned it on. It works, but there's things keeping it from turning on and off, I think. I haven't diagnosed much.
Do you have one of those supercharger sky hooks? That's a special tool to lift off the supercharger. Do you have one of those?
I don't know what you're talking about, so no, I guess I don't.
Well, when you take the supercharger off of one of the Cadillacs later than 2000, you're supposed to have this special tool that anchors at 4 points on the engine and has a hook that hooks to the 2 points on the intake manifold of the supercharger, and it lifts the whole thing off as an assembly if you remove the retaining bolts. That's because it's too big and heavy to lift by yourself with the engine in the car. It's like a four-man job if you don't have one of those.
Wow.
So
That seems like a fun tool. Anyway, all the things about taking the supercharger off worry me because
I'm going to have one eventually because I'm going to have this car until God forgets what it is.
yeah, that's the way I think about my XLR as I'm planning to keep it for the duration.
Yeah.
But I was reading somebody had said Cadillac treats the supercharger as a replaceable assembly. Even though it's serviceable, they don't service it. They simply take them off and send them back to Eaton. But so they had an issue with noise in the isolators in the nose of the superchargers on the CTSVs, and they replaced some of them. If you had a rattle, they would replace it. But what they do is they replace the whole supercharger in order to replace this isolator, which is a removable part inside the snout. But one of the guys was saying, so he got his supercharger replaced, and he was and then he took the snout off to look at it, and was dismayed to find that they put exactly the same isolator back on. that it had exactly the part that they'd replaced it to get rid of, and the new supercharger, just like the old supercharger. So
that CTSV that I tested for a weekend, it had that rattle in.
It had that rattle?
Yeah.
I hate that.
I made him come out there and listen to it before I took it home.
I almost bought one that was one that had that silver white paint job, and it had the supercharger rattle, and they sent it back. The dealer sent it back. They said they weren't going to sell it that way, and then they put it back for warranty, and they took it off the market, and they said if you want one now, get another one. So that's how I missed not having this pearlescent white paint job.
now I'm not sure that rattle. I still like the Cadillac argument that part was designed to wear, and that it didn't make any difference if it rattled or not, because it could continue to act as an isolator, and it served its purpose whether it was rattling or not. I still like that argument, and so I was surprised when Cadillac finally said, "Okay, we'll replace it." Why?
Purpose?
The purpose of the isolator is it. Well, that's a good question, I guess.
It keeps that when you put your foot in it, and you have that supercharger whine. What that is it's a back push as the rotors go past the air exchange point, and that translates into a huge vibrational oscillation in the pulley, and it reduces the amount of vibration seen in the pulley. And I don't know.
So it's inside the nose that connects the pulley. The pulley on the nose of the supercharger goes through a shaft through this isolator and into the gearing inside the supercharger.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saying that isolator acts as a noise isolation?
I think it's really a vibration isolation to keep it out of the serpentine belt. The supercharger belt's a serpentine belt, and it's got a spring-loaded tensioner and all this other good stuff. It's a huge long belt to reach up there. And if you put too much vibration on it, it's going to start slipping.
But it's hilarious that if the point of this isolator is to deal with vibration, if the isolator itself is suffering from vibration effects, then that's very ironic, right?
Yeah, except that I think that the problem is pretty much at idle and off idle. It's not at RPM under load. The action it performs is only important when the supercharger is under load, like when it's actually compressing air and that and high RPM. That's when you need it, and it didn't have the problem then.
So yeah, that's exactly what Cadillac said. You're right, that it's a torsional isolator used to isolate potential gear rattle noise during idle. Isolator contains a torsional spring that fits over the shaft. The purpose of the shaft is to distribute the stresses in the torsional spring. As the spring goes through its travel, the inside of the coils can contact the shaft, and the spring material is intentionally harder than the shaft, which by design results in visual witness marks or limited wear on the shaft. The witness marks and the limited wear is expected and has been observed on all the Eaton component durability tests, but they don't care. So that was the initial answer that they gave was, yeah, you're going to see some wear on that shaft where the spring circles, but that's by design. And then later they said, oh yeah, we'll replace that. We'll replace the whole supercharger over that part. So.
Well, I wouldn't want my car to rattle at idle.
I didn't realize when I drove that one it was only at idle. I never heard it any other time, but that's the way it was on that one, evidently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be a big deal to me or not. Now, to be fair, if you're going to get into the supercharger anyway to perhaps change the pulley or do other things, there are aftermarket isolators that are available for use, and you could change that out. Just because GM's changing the whole supercharger does not mean that a smart home user would change the supercharger to replace the isolator.
You'd have to buy that special part from Kent Moore, and that would cost more than the whole job.
Well, people do manage to do that somehow without having to. Maybe there's an easy way to. You mean to take the nose off?
I'm kidding.
Gotcha.
Those Kenmore tools are horribly expensive. I'd get a used one on eBay from somebody who messed with a supercharger and wanted to sell it.
You're not kidding about some tool that lifts it?
I couldn't understand you. I'm talking about that special tool for the supercharger removal tool. The one I was talking about, the Skyhook.
Right. You weren't kidding when you said that. You were kidding about the buying it.
I was kidding about the price. I do intend to get one eventually, but I'm not in a hurry. Mine's just got 50,000 miles on it, and I figure I got a while before I need to pull that supercharger off to do anything. It's just that, it's a push-right V8. If I can get that supercharger off, I can do anything with it. If I have to pull the engine, I can put it on an engine stand. I can deal with that thing. It doesn't matter what it needs.
I suspect you never have to pull the supercharger off.
Well, there's a strong possibility I won't because...
I mean, unless you chose to modify the supercharger, I don't think you'd ever need to pull the supercharger off.
Or yeah, that's right. But I think you need to pull the supercharger off to get at the lifters if you want to change the cam. Did I say something? Oh, I'm so sorry.
But you don't want to change the cam.
Why the hell not?
I'd go with things outside the engine first. I think headers are the next thing.
That's true.
Or actually having the upper or lower pulleys changed and up the boost pressure, and then add a heat exchanger, and then go with the headers.
Right now, when I floor it to come off a ramp and get on the freeway and get over in the fast lane, I hear that supercharger whine just a little bit when it gets down into third or whatever it uses to scoot across the freeway and go up to the traffic speed. And I remember the Eldorado when I had it fixed, but then I love that argon pipe and the intake manifold, but once I got that free flow exhaust, it sounded like a P-38 flying straight up when I put my foot in it. And I never lost my taste for that. So
you need to use their intake on it and get rid of that backplate and that original stuff so you can hear it.
Yeah, well, I think headers and of course a catback, and I would hear it.
Yeah, but that's right that they have isolators in the intake, and so if you get a an
Inspector
aftermarket
intake, yeah.
intake, it'll get rid of all that, and then you'll hear it
It's,
wailing.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Have you done that, Mike?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I loved it when I was riding in Bruce's car.
Oh, yeah, it's so much nicer.
Yeah. You got me thinking about it now.
There we go.
That's how it starts.
That's how it starts.
Yeah, I keep trying to talk myself into getting a Corsa exhaust for the XLR, but just to test to see how does it do. And of course, I'd really like to have the MagnaFlow one because they show the dyno test, and then get the Corsa one and then test them side by side. But I actually like the sound the car makes right now, and so and I like having $1,500 in my pocket. And, and so I'm leaning toward not doing that for the next 5 years.
I hadn't looked at Dynaflow. What do they say it does to the torque curve?
MagnaFlow, they basically just said improves all the way through. That on the XLR it adds 12 horsepower and 10 pound-feet of torque or something similar. And
I'd never noticed that.
Well, no, but if you only had 300 horsepower, you might.
Oh yeah.
And 556, yeah, you're not gonna. But that's true with my car also because the different tune and the weather and so on can swing it 10 horsepower.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, from from morning to the afternoon, you might have a difference of 10 horsepower. So you'd have to be testing in order to see the difference. But luckily, that's the situation I'd be doing, is I would be testing back to back in order to see the difference from one to the other. But yeah, I think I'm going to stick pat for the moment, and I'd actually like to see some cooler weather. We're having a heated period in Dallas this week, but we're supposed to have a cold front coming in to follow. So and maybe get the test lately though. I've been able to run it very close to SAE conditions, except our altitude here. But I think the correction factor on the last test was 1.2% or something, so very close to SAE conditions. It's 1349, so which is the current standard for. Now, Mike, what have you used your Tech 2 for? Let's talk Tech 2.
Well, today I hooked it onto the FTS to turn the compressor. What do you call that compressor? The one that raises the shocks and back. The leveling compressor.
Yes.
To turn it on, just from the inside the car.
To ensure that it was working. So that's a good use. Have you gotten to be an expert with the Tech 2 now?
Not even close. I have turned cylinders off. Mostly I mess with the STS, so if I screw something up, it's the cheapest repair.
Yeah.
I'm afraid sometimes to mess with the XLR too much.
Well, mine is still a little sensitive, and so I'm convinced that there's something that's not going well, and so I'm hoping that I can use the new #1 auto diagnostics store, Tech 2, in order to track down exactly what that. So the thing I want to try is, after that one time on Sunday morning where the gear shift lock in place. So what I want to try is running the relearn on the brake pedal. I saw there's a learn cycle that on the brake pedal that can get out of sequence, and so and the two symptoms are sometimes when I'm running tests, the XLR would stop sending data through the test port, and the other symptom is the one morning on Sunday morning, I went out to drive the XLR to church, started the car, put the top down, the StabiliTrak light came on as soon as the top went down, and then and the ABS. I could not shift it out of park, so for some reason it wasn't communicating with the brakes anymore. I turned the car off and turned it. No, turned the car off, turned it back on. That didn't help. I cleared the codes. That didn't help. I put the top up and just said, well, I'm going to take the other car. And as one last thing, I tried starting the car again, and then everything was great with the top up.
It was doing something to the wiring harness on the way down.
Could be that it was pinching the wiring harness on the way down, but
Yeah.
because I've had issues, and what I was watching for is to see if there was some interaction where I was going too fast around the corner, kind of in the staging lanes for the test area, and if the StabiliTrak came on, then that was causing a surge in the on the bus. But if it's this other issue that whenever you use the brake pedal, it may or may not put a surge on the bus because it's not properly calibrated. And somebody on XLR.net actually described this problem, that they had this problem, and they used the Tech 2 in order to run this learn for the brake pedal, and then that straightened out the problem.
Amazing.
And so my first day with the Tech 2, I ran into user error. I had very strong user error because what it was is, if you can see, the Tech 2, of course, is built like a military hardware. It's built GM tough.
Yeah.
For people to drop and throw and for it to still work. But on the Tech 2, it has a safety slide right here, and this is a interface module. So the way it's designed is, and I bet I can't even get it open now, but the way it's designed is this interface module, and I'd have to disassemble it a little bit to show you perfectly what I mean. But when the Tech 1 got too old, they had to replace it with the Tech 2. And so the idea of the Tech 2 was this interface module could later be updated and basically update the whole way the Tech 2 talked to cars so that they'd never have to replace the Tech 2. Now, it didn't work out that way because they went next to a laptop-based solution because laptop prices went way low. But this interface module, and then this slide, this knob right here, slides along the base here, and it locks the interface module into place in the Tech 2. Mm-hmm. So that once that slide is in place, then the interface module is locked into place. I misunderstood this, and I put the connector onto the interface module to get ready to assemble the Tech 2. So the connector goes to the Candy module, which goes to the XLR. But once you put this connector in place, the connector actually has a foot on it that interfaces, and let me show it the right way. The connector actually has a foot on it that interfaces with this slide.
Yeah.
So once the connector's in place,
it locks it.
You cannot move the locking slide into place. Mm-hmm. You have to move the locking slide for the interface module into place and then put the connector on. Mm-hmm. So I misunderstood that sequence and permanently got my interface module to where it could only be halfway engaged.
Oh, geez.
To where it was not completely engaged. And so I'm out with the XLR playing with the buttons and, trying to figure out why it's not communicating properly. So at first it said, I see the XLR, but I can't talk to it. And then it said, I can't find the Candy module even. And then I came back in and studied it. And what this is actually designed to do is once you have this connector in place, it locks that slide in place. Mm-hmm. So in other words, the torque of the connector being on the interface module, because the connector locks the slide in place, it's foolproof.
Yeah.
Because you can't screw that up, right?
Right.
Unless you follow my advice and put the connector on before you slide the slide into place, and then you can't get it to work right because you've screwed it up before you even got started.
Well, nothing is truly foolproof because fools are so ingenuous.
Yeah, they didn't anticipate 2015 fools when they designed this puppy.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is the connectors are all basically GM tough connectors. So you have a little spring here, but this is 1 inch thick, right? And so this one has pins inside it which you can't see, you can't see when, so the connector looks like this on the back end, but both of them look like female connectors when you put them together. And when they engage, the pins come out of this end and slide home into the connector. So you can't break the pins off, right? It's foolproof,
Right.
because until you put it together, the pins don't slide out of this one into that one.
Perfectly aligned.
That one looks just like this, right? And they're always perfectly aligned. So,
And that was pretty tough to push too, wasn't it?
yes, those were hard to sync home, right? So I figure I did that wrong somehow too. But now the other thing is, on the training video, it said, yeah, there is a plug where you can plug the Tech 2 in at the base just like that. But they said don't do that. Plug the Tech 2 into, and the cord they were using, the cord had some kind of, it's like the plug had a place to plug in the power supply, and they said plug the power supply into that, not into the Tech 2. But mine doesn't have that. Mine has the thing in the interface module. So, and I found the stickers in the box, and I've been putting the stickers on. So now mine actually says Tech 2, and my Candy module says Candy module. So the CAN bus interface module is why it's Candy. So somebody had a good time that day. But the stickers came in a little package like this, where they're covered on both sides, and you put the sticky side down, and then you peel the cover off, so it's this beautiful sticker. Now, it actually does have a serial number, but I didn't put the serial number sticker on yet, but it came with a sticker. And I don't know if every one you get from this gentleman has that one serial number, and you know, that was the serial number that he has available, or what, or if he individually prints out a new serial number and puts it in the bag, you know, each one together. Now the PCMCIA card, these use a 32 megabyte PCMCIA card, which goes into the end here. Now there are actually two slots there, but you can't use both slots. The top slot is the one that the original Tech 2 from GM. The training video says put your 32 meg card in the top slot, the one closest to the screen. They said do not put it in the bottom slot. That one's there for future expansion. Now, they never used it for future expansion, but that was the plan. But when mine came, the PCMCIA card for the US was in there. And so basically, this is a handheld computer with all the
Software.
all the software preloaded on that PCMCIA memory card, and then the interface cable to the car, and so and it is not modern technology. It is very much a creature of its time, but I expect to get years of good service out of it. One of the other things I loved in the video is they were so proud because, look, this strap is adjustable. It's Velcro, and you can slide it out. So if you have great big hands, you can make that so that you can do it one-handed. And so, but there is a good video. I linked that, I think, last week on the site. It's about a 45-minute video about how to use your Tech 2. And so I actually got some good idea, you know, some good learning from that. But it was mostly about, you know, setting up your Tech 2 and so on. Now, this gadget also came with 2 CDs or 2 DVDs, but I haven't installed those. But I think it's the TIS 2000, so it's all the shop manuals on a DVD, and it's specific programs that you can load into the Tech 2 when you need to do specific things. So, like I know they talked about when you're reprogramming the brake control module, that takes about 40 minutes, that you have to load the program through the Tech 2 into the brake control module. And so it takes a while with a computer connection. And that maybe there's a phone cord connection too, but it came with a car power supply, and it came with the phone connection, and it came, you know, it was a whole kit. So I have no complaints that way, and everything seems to be as described, but I would be very surprised if this was a licensed product from, Bosch or Vertrix or any of the people involved.
General Motors is going to be the one that licenses it.
Well, they bought it from Vetronics. Vetronics
Right.
made it for GM at the time, but
Yeah.
I agree that GM would need to license it these days.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a risk of explosion. This equipment has internal arcing, so don't reach your fingers inside your Tech 2. But Mike's had a Tech 2 forever, and so you've had good luck learning how to use yours, right?
Well, I haven't had it forever. I've only had it probably 6 months, maybe.
Oh, okay.
And I've had no problems with it. I'm perfectly happy.
Yeah, I saw that one of the XLR guys had an authentic one available for $700 or $800 or something, and I was tempted to get that one just to kind of help him out, and because I was in the market for one, but I wanted to go through the AliExpress experience just to see how that worked, if you see what I mean, because I felt like that made an interesting story for the site about what comes in the box. Do you get a brick or a picture, like the early days of eBay, right, where you might get a picture of, or you might have bought a postcard instead of an engine when it was the wild, wild west. So
I think CC, who had the one for sale, I think he's the one that linked that.
Along the way.
Yeah, I think that's where I ended up getting mine, through his link.
Well, I saw one of the guys had linked through AliExpress along the way, but I've wrapped him up in the cord. I'm sorry. So when I looked at that, but then I kind of just backed off and started fresh and said, okay, well, let me look at who has sold the most of these and who has the best the most good sale reputation points, and so on. And certainly for ordering on Sunday and it showed up on Wednesday, right, from China, that's terrific.
Right.
But I did. Now here is the only thing that I did to take advantage is I put into the note, I need the GM in English, and I plan to write an article on my website about this experience. So that was the only thing I did to try and make sure that I got the right one. But I paid for it out of my pocket. This was not, the number one auto diagnostic store or AliExpress providing a product to get me to hawk it on the site. This was my hard-earned money at work.
Well,
So have you had much with it yet?
Mm-hmm.
I did the checkout last night, and I spent half my time with it with the connector screwed up, so I didn't get a chance to do really fun stuff. But after I got the connector fixed, and before we had to do a Wednesday night car chat on Twitter, so before my car chat started, I was able to go out and actually get it to interact with the car and validate that it was working properly, and then I just brought it back into the box. I have already been fussed at for this is a car part and it does not belong on the kitchen table, but so I'm keeping it in a box.
What is a kitchen table for? Jesus Christ. I always use mine for rebuilding carburetors. Where are you going to rebuild your carburetor if you don't have a kitchen table? Of course, we don't have carburetors anymore. But
I said this is just as clean as your brand new iPhone. So
yeah, it is.
I kept the tunnel ram on the TV for some time. It was quite a decoration,
Yeah.
Well, I'm not fussing too much because I have a supercharger in her reading room on the floor in the corner, right, in case I ever need another supercharger in the V. And so, that's going to come to roost one of these days. And as Jim pointed out, those things have a little weight to them. Mm-hmm. And so, but that's another reason the supercharged North Star is actually smoother than the non-supercharged North Star, is that it has the benefit of that inertia of the rotors in the supercharger turning.
Reduces the rocking moment due to the firing vibration.
Now, yes, exactly. a Twitter fan sent me a note complaining that his new 2015 ATS with an LFX V6 was rough at idle. He said it doesn't idle well, and he took it to the dealer, and the dealer said, yes, that's because that's the way it's designed.
He needs a motor support. I'm being cynical, but
that's one of that actually is something that someone pointed out, is that they had replaced their engine mounts, and when they replaced the engine mounts, that got rid of that vibration. Another theory is that they're running it so lean and at such a low RPM for idle that it's not running smoothly, and that you could actually go in with an aftermarket calibration and fix that, but then it wouldn't have the low emissions at idle.
I doubt it, because if that was true, all of them would do it, or a high percentage of them. It wouldn't be just one. I think it's probably some tuning or mechanical issue. It could be the IPM motor's a little loose and got a flutter in it. Or the motor support's the most likely thing.
Now, one user reported his ATS did that until 8,000 miles and then stopped.
Well, that's because his motor support locked up.
You're sticking with that solution, aren't you?
Well, you gave me an opening. What am I going to do then?
So his thinking was that it was an issue with something caught in the ring, or something caught, something that worked itself out, basically, that he ran enough clean gasoline through it that cleaned it up. We do think that there's going to be more of a challenge for intake cleaning with these direct injection engines, because the intakes don't get cleaned by a mist of gasoline.
Right.
In conventional fuel injection, the air and the gas are mixed together and then sprayed in through the intake valve. In the direct injection, the fuel-air mixture is sprayed directly into the cylinder, which gives you better control of the fuel-air mixture, but it means the back of that intake valve is never getting washed clean.
Also, you have fire on the face of the fuel injector, where those tiny little nozzles are, and combustion pressure, which tends to force particles into the injector.
So we're still early in direct injection engines. We haven't, we've only had them for the last 10 years or something, and so.
Yeah, but diesels have been doing that forever.
But diesels use EGR to some extent. So I think part of the issue is not passing. So part of the issue is not passing EGR in upstream of the valves, right? That when they're using VVT to do internal EGR, where you're allowing some reversion of the exhaust gases back into the intake charge, then you don't have that problem of, in a conventional EGR system, you're feeding exhaust gases into the back of the intake valve, and just asking for intake clog, right?
Yes, and also intake valve seats getting grit and intake valve leakage.
Yes. And so it'll be interesting to see long term what the solution. I think the internal EGR is half the solution, but you still have the problem with. So maybe you'll just have some kind of regular intake head cleaning, right?
Yeah.
That when you go in for maintenance, that'll be a regular thing. Is like every time my car's over at Crest Cadillac, they say we should clean your throttle body. It's been 500 miles since your throttle body's clean. Can we go ahead and clean your throttle body while you're here? And I'm like, well, on the V, you have to take the supercharger off because the throttle body's on the back of the engine. How did you even know it was dirty? That you can't get, on the V, the North Star's turned around backwards, and then the supercharger can be on the front, and then the air feeds to the back. I said, you can't even see the throttle body, so how would you know it's dirty? Well, it's on their list of, the same thing with the XLR. They said, can we clean your throttle body while you're here? And so maybe it'll be like that, where every time you're at the dealer, every 10,000 miles, they'll want to do an oil change and an intake system cleaning.
Just say no.
Just say no. This is what I raised my son up to do, is whenever they tell you, can we do this, you just tell them, nope, no thank you. and then come home and tell your dad what they said. What was it that they wish they could do? And then I'll go look and see if it actually needs it or not. So I tried to send my Mountaineer off for towing duty, but they didn't. But my friend didn't take me up on it. He was moving out of town, and I said, "I have a tow vehicle. If you need a tow vehicle to head off to your next location, call me." But he didn't take me up on it, so we still have the Mountaineer available for other duties. So Jim, you said anything to report on your CTSV that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I do have an intermittent, well, occasionally a signal dropout on the tire pressure monitor on the right front, and I've developed a slow leak on the left front. That put air in it once or twice a week. It loses about half a pound a day.
So when are you going to have time to take that to the tire store?
I'm going to wait until I was going to take it Saturday, but I'm going to wait until the I ordered a tire pressure monitor from Rock Auto, and I feel sure that they'll spin the wheel over 20 miles an hour when they're balancing it, and that will turn on the tire pressure monitor, and then I can borrow a magnet from my wife's equipment or something and set it up. So,
Resync them, yeah.
Yeah, so I figure on having them unmount both wheels, front wheels, and do that. I do want to call ahead and make sure that they have a tire mounter who's comfortable with the 40 profile tires on 9-inch rims. But this day and age, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, that's what I would say is the shop that I always cringed was the one that had a sign up that said, "We don't guarantee. We are not responsible for any damage to your wheels if you have mag wheels."
Well, I just won't go there.
Yeah, that's a no. Anything that says I am
wheels.
not responsible for my work.
Yeah, those are $500 wheels. If somebody is not going to be responsible for taking care of your car, don't go there.
We are done. Exactly. Yeah. So, Mike, you got 7 cars in your stable. How do you keep any of them clean?
I don't. They collect dust.
Yes. I was thinking about getting a cover for the XLR on the theory that then, because just sitting in the garage, it collects dust because my wife, puts the door up and down and da-da-da. And so I was going to get a cover because, Monday through Friday, I leave the convertible in the garage, and then on the weekends I drive it, and do tests and so on. And so I'm thinking that I could put the cover on when it goes in the garage Sunday night and then take it off when it comes out of the garage Friday morning or Saturday morning, and it wouldn't be dusty in between.
So I'll post a picture on the forum here before long. I'm actually building a garage inside my shop for the 2 nicer cars to be hopefully not dust free, but keep the crap that flies around the shop off of them.
Now, you actually could do, Jim, I'm thinking about a positive ventilation system that would actually remove dust and pollen from the garage air, right? Or especially in a captive area like he's doing. That you could kind of do a positive pressure like a clean room, right?
Well, it doesn't have to be that clean, but they sell dust collectors for people with allergies. They put in rooms. We've had them around for years. They used to sell them for lots of money at the Sharper Image until Radio Shack got a buy. Started selling them for 25% the price. They've gone out of style, but you can get them. It's not a problem. A good room ventilation fan with a filter will probably do the job. I was just thinking, if your garage is on your home AC system, just get a hypoallergenic filter for your AC, and you're done.
Yeah, most people, the garage is not inside the AC area, though.
No, mine isn't. But the way if he's got 7 cars, I suspect it's in an area that has its own cooling system.
Yeah, my rich friend there, Mike.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, that's why I do my own work, because I'm so rich.
Right.
Because you've learned from having, that you don't want to have a guy living in your garage like Jay Leno does, right, where he's got the maintenance guys and so on. I will put in a plug. Jay Leno has a new car show Wednesday nights on CNBC. And so if you get CNBC on cable, if you don't, you can watch it on the interweb but it comes on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and so it's basically like their YouTube show, only on CNBC.
Wonderful.
And so if you haven't been watching that, it's all about car culture and enjoying cars. And, you know, he has different guests every week. And so if you haven't been following that, Jay Leno, and I think it's called Jay Leno's Garage on CNBC, yeah, Wednesday nights. Mm-hmm. So
he says his internet show name, yeah.
And if you want to comment on Twitter, we do the hashtag Motorama chat on Twitter on Wednesday nights, and then after the chat, we're kind of live watching the Jay Leno show, Jay Leno's Garage, and then tweeting about it as well. So that when they have, you know, a story about this or a story about that, then doing a live commentary during the show.
I wonder what the odds are of me remembering that.
Okay, so I will try and post on the forum the night where, you know, when our Motorama's live right now. Come over to hashtag Motorama on Twitter and chat about. But you're doing good. If you show up on Thursday nights on time, this was Air Mike's first time ever on time. So if you show up on Thursday nights on time, that's enough. That's
yeah, you can do it.
Do not feel like you have to come on Wednesday nights.
I have been on this computer many times in training. Able to connect to the Hangout.
Yeah, but couldn't find the right
time. I'll be on time most of the time since that link's on there now.
Yeah, so if you ever want to know how to, you know, we cover this a lot, but if you ever want to know how to be on, first of all, I post a thread about it every week on CaddyInfo. And there's a link there where you can jump. Now we just post what I call the jump-in link, which is the link at the top of the page. And so if you have that, you can just jump into the conversation. But if you'll circle me on Google+, if you contact me on the forums, if you contact me on LinkedIn, now if you're a Cadillac vendor or an automotive supplier and you would like to be on the show to talk about your product, we're also happy to do that, and you know, we'll set aside some time one week, and you can come tell us about your Cadillac-related product, and you may have your first 3 sales right here on the show.
Hello.
Or you know, I'll pick up something that we can sell, that we can give away on the site. Now we still have our 18th anniversary coming up, so I'm still listening for the great ideas for how to mark our 18th anniversary. So keep thinking about that. Now I keep saying 18th. Is it? So next year is going to be the 15th. Yeah, 6. So 98. So maybe it's the 17th anniversary. We started in February of '98. And this is February of 2016. So I think that's 18.
How about a 5-minute video essay on your XLR?
We'd have to make it 18 minutes.
Okay.
For the 18th anniversary,
yeah,
we do an 18-minute video essay on the XLR. Now, one of the things is I did a video review. I got a car mount for my XLR from the guys at ProClips, or the guys and ladies at ProClips. And the way this works is the ProClips mounts fit into the geography of your car, so that you don't have to screw anything into your car. And then they make different mounts that clip onto that anchor. So the anchor snaps onto your car based on the geography of the car, and then the anchor the mount screws onto the anchor, and then your phone slides into the mount, so you don't have to do anything with your phone. And so I actually got a car mount for my XLR, and I posted my experience there on about the ProClip on my blog, which I'm gonna screen share for a moment, just because I'll show you a picture of what this ProClip looks like in place. So if you zoom in, this one actually shows it a little better. So basically, it snaps into the speaker to stabilize it on the back, and it snaps over the air vent to stabilize it in the front, and then a custom mount for the iPhone 6 Plus, which is the one I have in my pocket, screws onto that anchor, and then the iPhone just fits into this mount. I think that picture was actually upside down, and this picture's right side up, but it just fits into that mount right here. And then I put video. There's the right side up one. So I put video from the mount on the web page as well. I don't think we can play that on the gadget we're on right now. But let me take that challenge. So if I play the video, can you guys see that as video?
Go full screen. I like it.
Can you see that as moving video?
Yeah. It's a little jerky, but it's okay.
Well, yeah, the original is not perfect, right? Now, one of the disadvantages is this because the phone's straight up and down, because the mount wasn't designed to hold the phone sideways, right? Now you can hear that air intake that I use on the XLR. It makes a kind of whoosh sound. But you can hear a lovely note from the North Star when we get to the stop sign here, which takes a bit. But after I turn the corner, then you can hear a lovely roar from the North Star. And I actually think this is one of the best features of the North Star is, and this is with the stock exhaust on the XLR. But one of the best features of the North Star is when you really floor it, it makes a really nice song. Oh, you guys probably aren't getting sound at all, are you?
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit.
Yeah, I just got it. Yeah, it's kind of quiet, but is that picture be widened, or is that how the narrow it is?
So this picture can't be widened because it was taken with the phone straight up and down. So in other words, you see how the mount sits, that I just slid my phone into this mount, right? And so the phone was straight up and down. So I went back later and looked to see, well, if I turn the mount sideways, but the problem is you have the hump of the dash on this side. And so that's what the video looks like with the phone turned sideways, is you get the lovely video because it's in portrait, but you can't see out the car because of the hump.
Right.
And then this is with the phone turned the other way, so you have a little better. So I don't know, maybe I'll try a live shot that way. But I think what I'll use it for more is for commentary on the car. Turned sideways actually might be quite a bit better for in-car video for commentary out the front. So say I could do like test reports when I'm out testing the car using video that facing back into the car and talk about the test and what's going on with the test and so on. So that's what I'm thinking is the snaps looking back into the car are actually more useful than the snaps out the car. But I don't know. We'll try a mix of things that this kind of framing. I also think that probably if you told the phone, don't do the video in that, this should be commandable by software, right? The camera doesn't care. The camera's a little round camera, so it doesn't care whether it's turned sideways or not.
Well, I think the focal plane may be hardware, and they may not be able to rotate it.
Maybe.
If the focal plane is square with pixels, yeah, it could do it. But I don't know if they do that.
So that's what I wonder. Is I wish that the software of the phone would let you just tell it, okay, I have the phone straight up and down, but I want you to shoot the video sideways. Mm-hmm. But I don't see that as a setting in the video. And that's one of their big complaints on the iPhone video is the TV station said, okay, if you're going to send us your iPhone of the tornado, don't hold your phone this way. Turn your phone this way while you're shooting the tornado, please, because otherwise we get that framed video just like we were just looking at. But if we were doing video out the front of the car, like during a 0 to 60 run or something, that framing might not matter, right? Because that's not the important thing. Hmm. But I don't know.
At least unlike Periscope, that won't be telling where you're at, so they can find you.
Yeah, well, that's... Periscope is already having its Darwin impact on people, right? Because if but that's a classic. You'll see hot rodders do that sometimes, where they'll shut down a highway and take video of themselves shutting down the highway so they can do speed tests, and then get arrested because they shot videos of themselves shutting down the highway so they could do speed tests. And so, yeah, there's some intelligence testing going on in real time that way. So,
Yes. I was glad to have found out about Periscope yesterday. I couldn't watch the Royals. On my little town here, cable doesn't have it. Periscope had it.
yay! So you got to see your game. Was it a good seat?
It wasn't bad. Of course, coming through the phone, you didn't get zoomed in or anything. But
Yeah, but probably if you put that on in like a live blog in the other window. But I guess you were sitting in a comfy chair with your phone on and a beer in your other hand and watching the game that way, right? Beer and peanuts.
nice.
Any other? I got us off some Cadillac topics because I wanted to talk about the Pro Clip. Any other Cadillac topics you guys wanted to bring up while we were on? I've kept you for an hour and 1 minute, which again is 51 minutes past the 10 minutes we should be running.
No, I don't have anything further to add. I've already talked about what little there is to say about my CTSV. Namely, you can hear supercharger whine if you keep your mouth closed. The radio is turned down when you're accelerating, and it sounds nice.
Oh no, Mike and I'll send you a video of what ours sound like.
Oh, I know what yours sound like. And you got me interested in getting an intake that doesn't have those Helmholtz resonators that quiet my supercharger whine.
Yeah, and the same thing with the XLRs. Go ahead.
I would rather have the supercharger whine. I mean that's yeah. Go ahead.
I assume Bruce is the same way, but not only do I have the supercharger whine now, I also have the noise. You know the noise that a quadrajet used to make when you turn the air cleaner upside down. I also have that noise under the hood mixed in with the supercharger now.
Turn what upside down?
The quadrajet.
Cars back in the 70s, you had a quadrajet carburetor. You turn the air cleaner lid upside down and you hear that sucking noise.
Oh, that, yeah.
Well, now that noise comes out along with a supercharger whine. It sounds really good.
Yeah, I've got the course at the back, so it's kind of a concert between the and the V. And the XR, of course, I've just got the air intake and not the, but it doesn't have a supercharger whine either. So, well, thanks for being on, guys. It was good to see you. If you're watching at home and you want to be on with us, scroll back to earlier in the video where I described how to do that. But the big thing is contact me or contact one of the guys, and we will explain to you how to get engaged and get on board. You can reach us 24/7 at CaddyInfo.com, where you can find the blog and the forum, and we talk about Cadillacs and Cadillac topics. And so if you need help with your Cadillac, that's exactly what we're here on the interweb for, is to make sure that you can keep your Cadillac running and enjoy it. Any last word for our viewers, Jim?
Whatever you do, enjoy it.
Perfect. Mike?
We need more participation.
More
participation. More Cadillac drivers online enjoying these great cars. Thanks for being on, guys. Hold on just a second. I will hit stop broadcast, and then we'll have the after show glow.